Hello and welcome to another episode of DCU Daily. And today we're going to be talking about Lex Luthor being cast into Superman Legacy. Of course, the news broke recently that we have Nicholas Hoult, formerly Beast of the X-Men, and of course he played a lot of great roles. That already, if you were at the movie theaters in 2023 and you went and saw Renfield or The Menu, he's an in-demand actor. He's a Hollywood star, and the rumors were that they were trying to cast somebody who's a well-known, A-lister basically in Hollywood, and Nicholas Hoult fits the bill. And in fact, I think there was a story about like Nicholas Hoult almost getting the role before the actor strike happened. So I would be willing to bet that this casting was already complete before the actor strike happened. They just had to, go through and basically, cross their T's and dot their I's and make sure that all the contract stuff was sorted once the actor strike finished, and they made it official. So now, having said that, like the fact that this casting might have been in place for some time to come, my question, John, for you is, what do you think Nicholas Hoult officially joining Superman Legacy as Lex Luthor means for the movie? And then also just, what version of Lex Luthor are we going to get? Because like the one we got in Batman v Superman, like with Jesse Eisenberg was, well, it wasn't the most popular iteration, and Lex Luthor's always been, I don't think people look very fondly back on the version we had in Superman Returns. Maybe not for the act for the character, but maybe the actor who was playing the role. So we really haven't had a Lex Luthor who was universally praised since Gene Hackman back in the 70s and 80s. So what do you think about Nicholas Hoult becoming the latest, to play in the long line of actors, the arch nemesis of Superman on the big screen?
He's very talented, and it is kind of funny how he was rumored to play both Superman here, and he was on the short list, and then he was also on the short list for the Batman before Robert Pattinson was chosen. So I feel like he was like, you know what, I can't be the hero, might as well be the villain, right? So I feel like, and I think he has enough range and enough talent to pull it off. Now, in terms of what they're going to do, it's a little bit up in the air. I just hope that he's just great. I have a ton of faith in him, and I think he could definitely do the role really well. In terms of stacking up against other Lex Luthors, the one I always see is like whether people say he's not going to be as good as, or he could be up there. Michael Rosenbaum from Smallville is usually the one I see that's always gets praised. He's like, a lot of people are like, yeah, the show wasn't great, but he was excellent, and that's pretty much, I feel like he's the poster child of what Lex Luthor should be from what little I've seen of Smallville. He is truly just the embodiment of everything Lex should be. Now, I think they're going to lean into more of the billionaire like side. Maybe not like the John Byrne Man of Steel run back in the 80s, but like kind of lean into that more since that's what we like to see as the villain nowadays. So I think they're going to lean into that a lot. I don't think he's going to be seen as mustache twirling villain, because I feel like that's a little bit too one dimensional. So I would like to see like more just more of the, maybe a little bit of a modern post-crisis version of Lex Luthor, which as I said was like the John Byrne run. I think that could really work for this version, and I wouldn't want him to be totally like the Lex Luthor we know. Kind of has a little bit left to, really go downhill into that path, just to show that there's a little bit more meat to this character. I don't want him to be like an origin story, because we're already getting that with Superman, and I feel like that could be repetitive. But something that's where he's a little bit more further down the line, but still hasn't reached that finish line yet. I think that could be really interesting. And Nicholas Hoult, as I said, he could definitely do that role properly. I think he would. I think who they chose was definitely a very good choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this is certainly, and from a standpoint of getting more talent on your team, a great move,
Yeah.
because Nicholas Hoult is one of the best actors going. he has almost been cast in like 5 other DC projects by this point in time. I think he's every time, like you said, Batman, Superman, like all those castings, they were coming up. Nicholas Holt's name was in the running. Of course, he's lost out to Robert Pattinson and David Cornsweet, but now he's got Lex Luthor. And given that it feels like the engineer and the authority might be like the main antagonist of Superman Legacy,
Right.
we might be seeing like Lex Luthor as almost like a side character, like he's there, like kind of like he's the Joker. I'm not saying we're gonna get him like in the last scene of the movie, like what we got in, for example, in the Batman, where like, oh, the Joker just happens to be in Arkham at the same time. I don't think we're gonna see that, but we're probably gonna see him get interweaved throughout the film, and maybe have some sort of a maybe even have like more of a like a friendly rivalry or acquaintance sort of a relationship with Clark Kent and Superman. Because I can imagine, like, um, Clark Kent is a journalist, and Lex Luthor is the kind of person who probably does a lot of press conferences and has to, dish out a lot of news about a lot of big things that he's working on. They could have that sort of a relationship, and that could become, a relationship that's antagonized over time. And maybe Lex Luthor knows who Superman is, or he doesn't, because we're getting a pretty early in his career Superman here, like year 2 almost. So maybe we haven't quite gone that far with Lex Luthor doing all that digging. One thing I did kind of like about this, for Nicholas Hoult specifically, is when you look at the fact that he was in the running for Superman. And of course, he was running for the Batman too, but like more importantly, he was running for Superman. Recently, we have, people have been heaping praise on Tom Hiddleston for his, amazing work playing Loki. And Tom Hiddleston originally went into audition for Thor. There's the footage out there of him auditioning for Thor. And then he didn't get that role. Of course, I think everybody agrees Chris Hemsworth is almost perfectly cast in that role. And people would say they can't imagine anybody else playing Loki at this point other than Tom Hiddleston. But nonetheless, he didn't get the role of Thor, but he got the role of Loki, and he's turned that into at this point, over 10 years worth of, time playing it in the MCU across multiple films and multiple seasons of a TV show. I can definitely see Nicholas Hoult maybe, looking at that and saying, hey, that could be my trajectory. Like, maybe I'm not Superman, but I am probably the most iconic villain that Superman comes across in the comics. So I'm excited to see where this goes. Guys, definitely let us know in the comments below what you think about this, because this is a casting that, honestly, when I think about it, you've got, David Cornsweet, who for the mainstream audiences is an unproven, I'm forgetting the word for it, unproven quantity. I didn't like, he's not really, he's an unproven entity. Like, he's not really somebody who most people know unless you watch the TV show he was on. And then he's been on a few, but now you put him opposite somebody like Nicholas Hoult. I think that gives you like a lot to work with, like surrounding the Superman with a lot of talented actors, like even Lois Lane. I think we've got a fantastic set of very experienced actors who are also just great at what they do. And not to say that David Cornsweet isn't that either, but let's see how Nicholas Hoult, spices things up in Superman Legacy, whether he's there just to kind of be in the background, or maybe he, it's a surprise and he is a principal antagonist. We don't know. Maybe he'll be like involved with the Authority somehow. We'll see. Guys, let us know in the comments what you think about this. And yeah, we love speculating. Of course, we'll stick to official news from James Gunn, but in the meantime, we can come up with our fan theories for how things are going to go, and you can let us know all about that in the comments below.